Hello, everybody. This is Brandon from Galaxy Doc Market. Today is March 28th, 2026, Saturday, 8:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And let's get right into it. I have a lot to cover. And the question that I have, and hence the title of our presentation, is Black Monday, again for the seventh time. Or is there going to be a stick save in the market once again as Trump puts out various narratives in order to help stabilize the stock market? Let's get right into it, okay? All right, here's the disclaimer for those of you not in my community but following me on X or YouTube. Please pause it and read it. If you agree, please move forward. And I want to thank you so much for following me at x.com and on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment. And if you want to find out about joining my community, click on the link in the description below and the profile at x.com. All right, so we are into the eye of the storm, folks. And we've been warning about this for some time now, and that the markets were showing significant divergences with insider sellings, credit default swaps rising in the banks. I mean, we covered a whole bunch of things. And recently, in the last 4 weeks, as the Iran war erupted, we have always maintained that the war is a narrative. And the war is not the single reason why the markets are tanking. It's because there is a monetary reset coming. And of course, I've always maintained that the banks were insolvent, okay? And that bankers take you to war. And this is more true today than it ever was. But we are heading into the eye of the storm. And so what does that mean? It means that we have been warning for some time, right? And that this is only going to exacerbate because they don't want you to look over here. They want you to look over there. They don't want you to see exactly what they're doing as they introduce. Who am I talking about they? These are the bankers. These are the elites. These are the satanic warmongers that are present within our government, in the world. Okay? It's in plain sight for people to see. Okay, but we have been warning about this, and that the war in Iran is basically a distraction. For example, when was the last time you heard anything about the Ukraine war? Remember the one that was supposed to start World War III? And they wanted you to completely worry about it? No one is talking about Ukraine anymore. The flavor of the month is Iran. They want you to be scared and fearful as they implode their banking system, as they become insolvent, as we have private credit issues and private equity issues, and the major banks like BlackRock, JP Morgan Chase are guarding or gating the investors' redemptions and their money. You think those money are yours? Well, if you give it to these wealth managers, or if you think you've joined the private equity or some private credit funds, no, they are not yours. In fact, the money in your checking account in the regular banks, they're not your money. In the event of force majeure or any type of catastrophic financial events, they could just shut the banks down, just like they're doing with the investment banks right now, just like BlackRock is doing, Jane Street, all of these people are doing, UBS, the latest one. They'll just say, sorry, you can't have your money because we're on the verge of collapse, and if we gave you our money, then we won't have our money. You see how that works? Okay. So while you're being distracted by the Iran war, because no one talks about the Ukraine war anymore, because really you were being fed a narrative, kind of reminds me of that movie Wag the War, starring Dustin Hoffman, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. And in that narrative, the president's ratings were down, so they faked the war on the media. And that's exactly what's happening. I'm not saying this Iran war is not real. But they created this war to keep you distracted, okay? And so distracted you are because They want you to look at the stock market. They want you in fear. And we've been warning about the stock market collapse for weeks on end right now, all the way back, starting this Monday. We had the stick save, and that's the kind of the topic for today is that are we going to get a repeat of this stick save and then a sell-off as they sell into the retail and weekends, and that gets duped into thinking that the bull market is coming. And so I'll share with you. You'll have to find out what I think about that. So, I always talk about shorting the rips, and we got this Monday rip, which basically came in, and everybody said, oh, yeah, Trump's got it under control. The war in Iran is going well. It's going to end soon. No, it's not. If the war in Iran was going to end, we wouldn't be sending 2 divisions of Marine Expeditionary Forces to Persian Gulf and the 82nd Airborne. This is just escalating right now, and I think we're sending another 3rd aircraft carrier, as Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier mysteriously had a fire. I think that aircraft carrier was hit, okay, to be honest, okay? But while you're being distracted by the Iranian war, okay, and as the stock market starts to sell off because it's because of the war, not because the banks are failing, not because BlackRock, UBS, JP Morgan Chase are gating investors that want their money back. I mean, what kind of investment is that? Aren't you better off, if you're going to lose money, aren't you better off losing it yourself? At least you can say you had fun doing it, okay? That money is not yours, but they want you to be distracted by the Iranian war. Before it was the Ukraine war, right? I mean, oh my God, Slava Ukraine, right? All this crap on X.com, and no one says a peep about Ukraine. Now it's all about the Iranian war. It's all about the oil supply disruptions that they engineered. Okay. The question for today's presentation is, what's going to happen here? Okay. And I believe, and I've maintained in my previous videos that I believe this year this crash is going to be divided into 3 parts. And I think we're coming towards the last week of March into first week of April. I think that's what my cycle analysis says, is that we're going to have a flush. Okay, it doesn't mean we're not going to have these stick saves, and I believe a stick save is coming again on Monday, and if not, we're flushing all the way back down. We're going below 6,000. We're hitting about 59.85 to 58.65, maybe lower, much lower, okay? And however, we're not. It doesn't mean it's not going to have these type of stick saves. So it's a big stick save back up into about 6,600, right into this inflection point. Going to come making these lower highs that which you can short into. This is what the big boys are doing. They create these rips. They make Trump tweet out something saying that, oh, you know what, I think we'll pause this and that. The market doesn't believe him anymore. I don't know what to believe at this point, right? But I do know the mechanism of this is that they're going to keep creating these bounces in which they're going to sell into you because it's going to entice the dumb money to follow that stupid pump, and they sell into you while they're laughing all the way to the bank, their banks, not your banks. They have a different banks for themselves. Okay, folks? All right, so this is what's happening. They want you distracted. The question is, are we going to get a stick save? Okay? So the real reason why the markets are failing is because all banks are insolvent. And I've talked about this over the last 2.5 years ad nauseum. We talked about Comerica Bank. We talked about Deutsche Bank, UBS, Citibank, BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, Chase, everything else in between, we talked about it. Okay, now the chickens are coming home to roost. Now, UBS is a Swiss bank. It has a lot of wealth management going on, halts withdrawals from $469 million real estate fund. Remember, from time to time, I talk about the Chinese mega mortgage bank, commercial real estate bank called Evergrande. That's probably going to rear its ugly head. These are all interconnected events, but the fact remains, okay, every single banks holding U.S. Treasury, which they're required to, are insolvent. This is why the Fed keeps opening up the discount window, why they're saying, oh, yeah, we're worried about inflation and we're going to control that. As they say that, they're printing trillions upon trillions of dollars doing a couple of things, propping up these dead zombie banks, Weekend at Bernie's banks, right? and also rigging the oil, gold, and silver markets. I believe over $10 trillion have been printed since January 29th when they rigged the silver market down from 121 to where it is right now. And you wonder why we're beginning to print inflationary numbers on numbers that have already been doctored to be as positive as possible. Okay? Don't believe a word that's saying. UBS is halting withdrawals along with every other banks. Okay? BlackRock is doing it. Okay? Why? Do they do this when banks are, solvent and healthy? No. This is the system that is breaking down, but they want you to blame it on the war, right? First it was Ukraine war, and then we forgot about that now, right? They want you to blame it on Iranian war. Okay, they don't want you. See, they don't want to be the bad guys because they're not the bad guys, right? They're not the ones rigging the financial systems where it's a freaking joke. The stock market is right now. Okay, this is the real reason, folks. And then, of course, Trump tweets out the dollar collapse is happening right now. Okay. And, this is what they want. I always told you all sovereign currencies is a race to zero. Whoever can hyperinflate and devalue their currency to zero means that they're accumulating assets. For the United States, it is by the threat of force, war. Okay. We're taking Venezuela, where we probably want the oil from Iran. I think Trump said Cuba's next. Okay. So this is what the issue is that dollar is collapsing, and it's by design. United States is declaring quote unquote Chapter 11 style bankruptcy, and they're going to emerge from there and stiff the debt that it has, hyperinflated away, either by printing money and devaluing the currency or by war. Okay. So here's nothing's really going to happen. BlackRock is under investigation for securities fraud. Whoopie-doo. What are they going to do? Pay $1 billion as they make $1 trillion in profit? Okay. So BlackRock and, these SEC, which basically is not going to do anything. When was the last time you saw anyone go to jail from Epstein files? I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to mention that. But there's no accountability. Unless people start going to jail and being held accountable, unless companies that have done bad things are held accountable, nothing is going to change, folks. All right? I've always maintained that bankers take you to war. Okay? And calling them bankers is a kind word. These are satanic, demonic banksters. Okay? All of our troubles and problems with food supply to inflation and to not having enough money and just having diseases and wars and after endless wars and COVID lockdowns, and all that comes from these banksters, folks. If you look in the Bible, there's only one instance in which Jesus became violent. That was in the temple with the money changers and the modern day central banks and these mega banksters like Jamie Dimon and his Chase Bank and BlackRock. Okay, Larry Fink is head of WEF, is he not? These are the money changers of the Bible, in which Jesus became violent and started whipping them and turning over tables. Think about that. Okay, bankers take you to war, folks. So here we are. Let's get into the meat of the things. We're at extreme fear, generally at its peak. We're at 10. I've seen this thing as low as 7 in the past, but we're in extreme fear zone. We chopped around this neutral zone for so long, since November of last year until recently. Okay. But the signs were there, right? This is a contrarian indicator. It doesn't mean we're not going to crash. The Black Monday should have happened like 7 weeks ago. But here we are. And are we going to get a stick save at these extreme levels again? Okay. Fear is there, and everyone's freaking out because, the S&P 500, really, we've only declined like 4.5%, 5%, maybe 7%. I'll have to look at the complete data on that. The correction doesn't even start until it's 12%. We dropped literally like 2.1% on Friday, and everyone's freaking out. What happens when we get the real one? The real one where we drop 9 to 12% in a day, maybe 15 to 18%. does everyone forget about the COVID crash or the 2008 and 2009 crash? Or what about the dot-com crash? Hmm. Boy, I mean, I worry about these people, you know. So we're at extreme fear, folks. All right. And this is what I'm talking about. Okay. If you're an astute investor, take away your trader hat and go into investment hat. Well, you're looking at these numbers, and these numbers are looking pretty decent. They are on sale. It doesn't mean you go out right away and buy it or basically mortgage your house to go buy these. But these are the same stocks that are going to be aiding in the bounce that's coming. Okay. And it's coming, folks. We're towards the end of this quote unquote first wave of crash. I believe there's two more after this one. And it's going to be exactly like this with a rip your face off rally followed by another crash. It's going to be new flavor of the month once Iran narrative goes away. Maybe it's going to be Cuba. Maybe it's Taiwan. And maybe it's North Korea. Who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? Okay. Maybe they're going to lock us down again with some threat of a health crisis. Who knows? Okay. So when you look at this, we are looking at peak fear. Okay. And they always say, you buy the fear and you sell the euphoria. Okay. I don't see anybody being euphoric except me. Our group. We're sitting here licking our chops right now. Okay. The question is there going to be a stick save on Monday? Okay. But pay attention to these. Okay. These things are on sale right now. Okay, with the exception of Oracle. I think Oracle may fail, but that's another topic for another day. But all of these are really, they'll get even more enticing as they fall even further. Okay, so I always said the monetary system reset is happening, and for the first time historically, moving forward, all the U.S. Treasury notes, okay, or the Federal Reserve Bank notes, they're going to be called Treasury notes going forward. It's going to have our President Donald Trump's signature, not the Treasury Secretary, not the Treasurer, okay? That's a sign. He's hinting at you that the monetary system reset is happening away from fractional reserve banking system, and that's what this whole war thing is all about, okay? They want you distracted as they bring in the new monetary system. Okay, are the banksters happy about this? They're probably not. If you look at it, I mean, whether you agree with Trump or what he's doing, mere mortals like me can't understand what he's doing. Okay, I'm going, what the hell is he doing? I mean, it's just beyond belief. Either he's totally clueless or he's playing 4D chess. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because all you have to do is look at the mainstream media, the Democrats, and basically the banks and all these elites. They're pissed off at him right now. Okay. Meanwhile, in the political theater front, this is what's happening right now. Okay. As the bell ended, not within the 15 minutes, Zero Hedge publishes Turkish foreign minister says negotiations between U.S. and Tehran have started. Okay. So this sets up the basis for a possible stick save. Let's pray for peace. And hopefully there is a peaceful resolution to all this. However, this is because the 10-year yield on the Treasury, which we're going to go over shortly, okay, is spiking, which means essentially right now all banks are insolvent. They're bankrupt. Okay, this is why they're gating investors that want their money back, and they're just not doing it. Okay, but this is the basis for the stick save that is coming, folks. So just remember. All right. We're being fed a line. We're being fed a narrative, and nothing has ever changed. I've been trading all the way since 97. So if you think about that, and I've seen it all. And, just the things that they do change, but the actual narratives and the schema never changes. Okay. It's the same shit. You've seen it once enough. You see it all the time. Now, like I said, it's the same old story. They're looking for peace as we're sending 2 divisions of the Marine Expeditionary Forces and 82nd Airborne to Iran. War is not going to end easily. Okay? So, The question is another stick save coming on Monday, or are we really going to get that cleansing moment and just flush the crap out of everything so that we can just start anew and then start a new cycle? Okay, and here we are, these two people. Okay, I better watch what I say. So the banksters have failed. Really, I mean, the bank system is failing. The credit and debt market is failing. Fraud is coming out left and right. As Jamie Dimon says, there are more cockroaches than meets the eyes. SMCI last week, I said, was the canary in the coal mine because the banksters are ready to basically expose the fraud and blame it on war, blame it on SMCI, the trifecta of evil, NVIDIA, AMD, SMCI. Which consequently, everyone's scratching their heads about why Trump appointed, Mark Zuckerberg, Jensen Huang, who's intimately tied to SMCI, and Larry Ellison of Oracle, a failing entity that has questionable, let's say, world practices. But anyways, war is the backdrop of a new monetary system being implemented. Do not be distracted by their fear tactics. Okay. So let's review some charts. In this review, we're going to talk about the 10-year yield. Oh my God, it's awful. It's just, oh my goodness, it's bad. U.S. dollar. Okay. We are going to talk about silver, gold. We're going to talk about XRP and Bitcoin. We're going to talk about oil. We're going to talk about SPY, of course, SMCI, the trifecta of evil, Netflix, finally, Federal Express. They did not hedge their oil, folks. Snow, okay, AI implosion. And we're going to talk about Costco is a gift that keeps on giving, last bastion of the bullishness that remains in this market. As Costco breaks down, so will the market. Okay, Costco is going to be the barometer in which is this sell-off over. And like I said, we're going to have a crash in 3 parts this year. Or if Costco starts to crater next week, that means there's more sell-off coming. And then we're going to look at the VIX. So let's go look at some stuff and give some meaning to this shenanigans that's happening in this market. Okay, so let's go right into the 10-year yield. Okay, TNX measures 10-year yield. When bond sells off, which is U.S. debt, biggest debtor nation in the world is us. Okay, nobody wants our crap because we hold that as hostage, and if you hold our bonds, and that gives us the license to bomb the crap out of you, I guess. But regardless, basically nobody buys our debt. Okay, we print our debt and then we buy it back with printed money, and so we're at, this critical level ever since any type of interventions that we had. This means that inflation is getting worse. Okay. That is a catastrophic level. Anything above 35 on TNX means that the banks are essentially insolvent. And as such, remember I said the currency is raised to zero. It's supposed to be a devaluation, and yet our dollar is going higher. Okay, this is basically a recipe for disaster, warning of further dislocations in the market. And watch this. The war rhetoric is going to ratchet up higher. Now, Trump doesn't want to see 10-year yield climb, and he doesn't want to see the dollar climbing, so he's going to try to make nice. He's going to try to say, oh, yeah, we have the peace. We're negotiating. With whom is he negotiating with? I have no idea. We're getting conflicting reports, but then I don't trust the mainstream media either. Anything that CNN or MSNBC or even Fox News tells you, you got to do the opposite. Okay? Now we're in the danger zone. I said anytime we get above 30, we have a chance for this thing to rocket up as high as 65 in the ensuing days. We have oil spiking to 101 after, basically saying that we're going to control those oil. This is with the U.S. Treasury actively, rigging the oil markets to keep the prices lower. In Oman and Middle East, barrel of oil is going from $170 to $210 a barrel right now. Okay, and yet we're telling you that at 101. Okay, our markets are dead. Our pricing mechanism and the trust is gone. Okay, let's look at silver then. We'll have a little better things. But, here's gold and silver right here. Okay, we bottomed at 61.21, moving sideways. I told you that um, silver and gold looks to be making a inverse head and shoulders, right? I mean, yeah, it's pretty clear to me that it really is. We're making it up. And once the rig job is done by COMEX, we're going to be right back at 121. I think we're going to take out that $200 to $400 by probably May or June. Okay. All right, so that's what we have. We have this situation where everything is screaming that it's going to get much worse, but it is exactly in those times where market becomes contrarian. Okay, so let's look at our stock market analysis here, and let's start with the McClellan Summation Index. I said this is it. We're going to start having the sell-off, and boy, McClellan Summation never disappoints. However, we are now coming into this oversold situations. This is clearly, for me, a momentum indicator that shows the direction, and look at this. Okay, so we got to be careful. We're coming to the tail end. Like I said, we're going to have crash in 3 parts. MACD histogram is warning, and we're beginning to narrow that gap. Okay. So the question is a stick safe coming on Monday? Okay. In its finality. Here's S&P 500 weekly chart. I mean, you know, RSI has been showing you negative divergences until kingdom come. Look at all these sell volumes, okay? Fear is in the market. I mean, as early as when we were topping out, I mean, we had signs, right? We had signs and symptoms that the top was coming in. I've been pounding the table for it. We're now below the 50-day moving average, this blue line. Here's the pivot. The question is, do we pop back and retest into this body of the candle? And that's going to be a tell. Are we going to get a inside day and then melt back down? Is there a stick save coming, or are we waking up on Sunday night and we're just melting right down into this point 641? We haven't even gotten into these volatility box ranges, and I think those comes in the second phase of the crash, which I believe is coming probably in June to July, and then the last one coming in October to November. I just think that's the way it's going to go. Okay, that's the way things have been engineered. So we have the PPO ADX that's basically showing a very bearish formation. However, you need to start paying attention as these levels start converging on each other. That's a bullish crush that is about to form. Okay, so we need to be aware of those. Silver, look at this, folks. All right, we came right down into the auto-calculated pivot level. We found a bounce. Here's the triangle formation that we have. This is ready to rocket higher. We have positive divergences still forming. Yes, the MACD looks like dog crap right now, but that's what happens when you manipulate the crap out of silver. Okay, no one trusts the COMEX's silver pricing mechanism anymore, and the CCI. I mean, we're definitely been weakened. However, you know, we have a full-on PPO ADX that is saying that a sell-off is in its late stages, and we're probably going to just have this turn right back up shortly. Okay, so let's move on to gold. Okay, so gold, it's the same thing, right? Gold, we have this tail candle that's formed right here. It looks beautiful. Okay, it looks like a reversal is about to happen. We bounced off of the critical level at the breakout zone. We're ready to move higher. Okay, we don't, you know, it's just, you get them when people don't want them, when they're scared of it. Okay, but gold and silver prices have been rigged to kingdom come. Okay, the rebound is going to be epic, and it's coming soon. Snowflake, I think this is my poster child for the AI implosion. We are below the pivot. I think we're going to come right down into this 120 level, potentially, unless we get a stick save on Monday morning. Okay, everything is negative. There's more meat left on this bone. The question is, are we going to bounce off of this critical pivot level? Okay. Now, Costco is basically the barometer for the, basically this market. It is the one that has held up the best, okay? And we had a head and shoulders before, but really we're forming like a triple top at the moment, and it's holding on for dear life at the 80 MA. Costco will determine if we're going to get one more final capitulatory sell-off as it breaks down into these target zones. This has been there. I think there's about 10.1% of corrective move coming. Otherwise, as we're nearing the end of our first phase of the sell-off, this is what's happening, okay? Pay attention to Costco, okay? Everything is divergent. A MACD histogram looks divergent. I mean, we have the CCI coming down right into here, coming off, okay? So even if the market starts to recover, I believe Costco is going to continue to fall. Okay, SMCI, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Okay, again, at the pivot, it found some support. Once it breaks, we're going to go right into that $12, $13 range. It's going to go to 5. I think the target is somewhere above $1.25 and below $1.50. Okay, to me, I think this stock is a zero. It's fraudulent. The trifecta of evil, right? I call it SMCI, AMD, and NVIDIA. Okay. Just think about it. Jensen Huang and Lisa Su, AMD and NVIDIA, okay, they're cousins. And these are family friends, SMCI. You go do the connection, okay? Just look at who they are, okay? And then just wonder about how they became CEOs of the great American companies. Just saying, okay? Netflix. Okay, so Netflix has done a dead cat bounce, and it is going to fail at the 100-day moving average. I believe there is a movement down towards at least into the 88 to 75 level. So that bears watching. If the market gets a little bit wonky again and starts to sell off, you got to pay attention to Netflix. I think there's one more leg coming down unless there's a stick save on Monday. UBS, same thing. We've been talking about banks, right? And I said banks have topped around these levels, and here we are. I think UBS is going right down into the the 30 to 29, maybe down into the 200-day moving average, unless we get a stick save. You see the point here? Federal Express reported great earnings, and then it was just sell the rips moment. This is what happens in basically any type of environments. We have negative divergences here. Here is where they topped. We're below the 80 MA. Here's the 20 SMA. You go do the math where it's headed. I think it may go at least to this trend line below there. But realistically, as the sell-off ensues, remember I said stock market crash is going to happen in 3 parts this year. Okay? These are the levels that we're looking at. Here's a MACD death cross about to happen. All right. Pay attention to these, folks. All right. So that's pretty much it for what I have. And let's review this out of here. And then, of course, we got the XRP, right? It's going to go a little bit lower. I think I'm waiting for lower prices. I've said that if XRP could get into this buy zone down into this between there to here, wow, would it be great? I just think we're going to just chop around here, and then it's just going to move higher as they bring in the new monetary system.